Good evening, chat. Hello. And this is so weird. Like my mixer board is kind of like not lit up and I don't get it. But whatever. I didn't know what happened there. So anyways, welcome everybody. Welcome to the show. It is Saturday night. We got a quick one here. And this is after we had our long marathon stream earlier today. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Glad you enjoyed it. We are tonight going to talk about Sig Sauer and their defense of the P320 pistol and what I think is pretty much a frivolous lawsuit. And yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. They're toast. I mean, overall, we know they're toast. If you guys, before we get too far, guys, welcome to the show. I'm Sean, also known as Potentially Criminal. I'm an attorney in the Cleveland, Ohio area. And tonight we're talking about Sig Sauer. And more importantly, about the Sig P320. If you guys don't know what the P320 is, the Sig P320 is a polymer pistol that's out there. And I'm only going to show this really quick. But this is a Sig P320. That's what it looks like. You're like, oh, it looks like a gun. It is. It's got a big, big problem. David says it's not frivolous if it makes a point. I mean, it's not really making a point, though. So, what is Sig Sauer trying to do here? Well, Sig Sauer's had a lot of problems. They've had multiple lawsuits. They've either had to settle or they've lost. They've won some as well. But there is a plethora of videos of Sig Sauer P320s just going off on their own in holsters while police officers have been wearing them. There's videos of people at ranges where it'll discharge on its own. And now through YouTube, people have demonstrated sitting at home, they can get the firearm to discharge without the trigger being fully depressed, which, if you guys don't know that about guns, that's not a good thing. You know, we don't want that. We don't want that. Now, what is Sig Sauer's response been to all these things? They say it's your fault. It's the consumer. It's the user's fault. Sure, soon, once we learn about the airman who died at F.E. Warren Air Force Base, they're going to blame him for that, too. But Sig has suffered a lot of problems. The FBI has dropped them off the approved pistol list. The Department of Homeland Security has dropped them off the approved list. ICE has dropped them. Multiple police departments and agencies across America and into Canada have quit using the P320 because it is fucking dangerous. That includes multiple state police forces. And then many like big metropolitan organizations have quit using it because it's dangerous. There are firearms trainers who provide classes who will not let you bring a Sig P320 to class. There are different organizations and ranges that won't let you bring a P320 in because they're dangerous. And now we come to a group known as the... Oh, actually, we got to get... Hold on here, chat. Let's see. Yeah, IDPA, the International Defensive Pistol Association. It is a shooting sports organization. It's the governing body for IDPA. It's a shooting discipline. They've banned them from competitions. You're not allowed to do it because part of IDPA is using pistols drawn from concealment and retention. So we can't do that. Everybody does not want to touch them. SB Seller says Australian police are still using them for who knows for how long. Who knows for how long? But there is so many problems. And one of the newest things is the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission. Now, that sounds like a mouthful. What are they actually training people on? Are they training criminals? No. The Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission is what you might call in your state your post certifier, your peace officer standards and training. Or in Ohio, it's called the Ohio Peace Officers and Training Academy. They are in charge of setting up the rubrics and ensuring the standards for every police officer in the state of Washington is met to a certain standard. So if you want to become a cop in Washington, you have to go to a Criminal Justice Training Commission approved course, and you go to a police academy, or you go to their courses, or it's how it works here in Ohio. In many states, you take a course at your community college that's been approved and vetted as part of that program. They're in charge of that. They're in charge of providing training and resources to law enforcement agencies and organizations. So they're pretty important. They are an important agency. They are a governmental body. They are a governmental body. So what do they do with it? And if you guys, they really are, the guys, it's a real organization. If you guys have never seen them before, like I said, you have a similar thing in every state. There's, they do certification of different things. They train people. And if you guys have never seen it before, this is what they do. This is how they operate. And it is all about all the different things they can provide. They provide training and education. They provide classes. They do patrol tactics, corrections officer academy. They can do instructor programs. They do the basic police academy. And why do they do that? Because you have to do a 720 academy hours, and they offer it. And they offer everything that's there. They talk about what you can do. And one of the things they have is required equipment. Well, what's required equipment? Well, there's a bunch of stuff that's required. And here you have, you get a uniform, you get 4 pairs of pants, shirts, a ballistic vest or an outer carrier. Then you have, to do PT, you have to have certain things. You have to bring a laptop computer. You have to have a duty belt, a radio holder, handcuffs with keys, a commercially held flashlight that has a minimum of 300 lumens, which is bright enough. You always get more lumens if you can. A taser holster. Okay. A blue mock handgun associated with your department issue. A blue mock taser, meaning a pretend taser. So you could use it in force-on-force drills. You have to bring an actual issued taser. Like, you have to bring certain things with you. Okay. Now, they give you standards. It's all about standards and training. It's all meant to be safe and do things the right way. Well, recently, in response to all the issues with the P320, the Criminal Justice Training Commission was like, we need to look at this. And there are some problems. There are some problems that we need to address. And they did a proper evaluation. And they released in February the Sig Sauer P320 pistol report. And they came up with a report saying, we don't want the Sig Sauer anymore. We don't here's our recommendations for it. So this was released by them. You can find this right now if you want to go look it up. It talks about what they do. It talks about their problem statement, which is what we're going to get to. So we'll start right there. What's the problem statement? There's a critical safety issue with the P320 during the fall 2024 training. So they had their own accident that occurred, and they started investigating it. A critical safety issue. I love that phrase. There's an abundance of information, not all credible, circulating through the public. Yeah. Regarding safety issues with the P320. The funny thing is, half of that's from SIG. So they're putting out, we need to figure out what this is. We need to provide an overall comprehensive review of the event, in contrast to the publicly available information, and we need to figure out what's going on here. And they talk about 2 different kinds of things that happen: an unintentional discharge and an uncommanded discharge. And an unintentional discharge / a negligent discharge, I don't think it's not an accidental, because an accident implies there was no control over it. You didn't intend to do it, but it was also negligent is the proper terminology. It occurs due to unsafe handling or failure to follow proper safety measures or protocols. And what's it always? You put your fucking finger on the trigger. That's why the gun goes off almost all the time. Now, they talk about an uncommanded one where it's fired without an explicit actuation of the trigger. When they talk about all the different people, this was their work group, and here's what they were involved in. They have a bunch of police departments here, guys. Look at all these police departments. It's sheriff's offices. They have a company that supplies equipment to law enforcement. You know, they have a security company there. They have multiple SIG representatives. Look at this. They sent all kinds of people. SIG sent a bunch of dudes. SIG sent a bunch of dudes to come talk and say, look, it's not that bad. They have different people from other police departments, the, state wildlife people. They have people from the Criminal Justice Training Commission, the instructors, the people that were involved. Everybody that was part of this stuff is involved here. So this is a robust group of people. And notice SIG got to send a bunch of dudes. And notice all the dates are kind of important as November 13th. They all pretty much talk about November 13th, okay? And we're going to get to that in the lawsuit here. So what happened in the event summary? Okay, so on October 9th, in Class 901, there was a shooting drill at the Regional Academy. And that was at the Spokane Police Department shooting range. As the recruit drew their firearm, a SIG P320, to engage in a course of fire. And a course of fire means, chat, it might just mean you fire one shot and then you scan and assess. It might be shoot twice on the target. It might be shoot target A twice, shoot target B twice, shoot target C twice. It might be shoot target A twice in the center mass and once in the head. It might be any number of things you may have to do. It might be shoot, reload, shoot. It could be whatever it is. That's what a course of fire is. They're going to immediately self-discharge, more commonly referred as an uncommanded discharge. The bullet from that struck behind the firearm shooting group. And now you might think, wait, how did that happen? And when you think about, and this is where, once again, we're going to try to... the issue of drawing a firearm from a holster, and this might make a little sense here, chat. Depending on how you're drawing, and your holster can have a cant to it, and by cant I mean the angle it sits. So sometimes you may have a very neutral cant. You might have it might cant forward, and theoretically you could cant it backwards. That wouldn't make any sense. But this guy right here, actually, hold on, that's not gonna work. Hold on here. That's a better picture of it, I think. Yeah. So here we go. Hold on, chat. There we go. Okay. So here's two examples of, this is a guy with a firearm that's got a bit of a forward cant on it. And you can tell the gun's angled it's facing backwards, right? Because right now it's not straight up and down, and it's kind of leaning this way. So that means the barrel's kind of going back that way behind him. So the barrel's pointed behind him. And as he's drawing it, it's going to be like that. And as he brings it, that's when there might be an issue. And this is another similar thing here. This is a guy with a pretty forward cant. And look how his firearm is pointed. It's going to be pointed backwards. That's technically how this works. So what does that mean for us? Well, in this report, they mentioned that's how the gun went off. It went off behind the shooter. And it struck the firearms group in the concrete. The fragment struck an instructor and another recruit in their lower extremities as they were standing behind the recruit. As soon as there was that firing, everybody stopped. Firing was ceased. They checked their injuries. The recruit reported as they drew their gun, I was indexed and the back plate of my slide bumped into my vest. Self-discharging, meaning when he says I was indexed, I grabbed it, I was coming through, and he was pulling it up to grab it, and he was going to present. And as he came up with it, he bumped his vest. And at that point, this was supported by the instructor who was standing there. The instructor's like, yeah, that's 100% what happened. I watched him, as my job is supposed to be. The summary states when they observed the course of fire, the weapon immediately fired while he was drawing the weapon. So The firearms instructor also stated they immediately looked at the trigger finger and it was not on the trigger or in the trigger guard. Very critical. Like, he didn't touch it. They inspected both the gun and holster, then directed the recruit to conduct several additional draws of the gun to include firing. And they said, although no additional issues were detected, the recruit was prohibited from using their P320 in training. You're like, okay, that sounds pretty bad. Sounds pretty bad. Oh, shit. Okay, share screen. Sorry, guys. Damn it. So here's where they talk about it. You know what? Jesus Christ. So they talk about it. The guy says, I was pulling it out, and as soon as I bumped into my vest, it went off. And the instructor said the same thing. You know, they observed the recruit during the course of fire, and on commanding the fire, it went off while he touched it, while he was drawing the weapon. They looked and his finger was not on the trigger or on the trigger guard. They inspected it, and they made him do several additional draws. And they said, although it didn't happen again, he was prohibited from using the P320, that particular gun. And that's not uncommon. That's not uncommon. So it's not uncommon at all. What happened from here? Well, so they distributed a statewide notice to, I hate they use all this fucking corporate gobbledygook speak, stakeholders. But they pointed out, here's what happened. The P320 is prohibited on all property owned and leased by the Training Commission. The action was taken out of caution for everybody. They immediately following the stakeholder notification, they immediately assembled a working group to research the safety accounts, as well as litigation and civil judgments. They also confirmed similarities of P320 resulted in the M17 and 18 also to be prohibited. So remember, guys, the Sig Sauer M17 and M18 are the ones that have been sold to the military. They sell them as the M17 and M18 as well. You can buy them. And they're just saying the P320, this one, and this one are all banned from their properties and being used. Now, they talk about what happened here. And they hosted 4 virtual working group discussions. So it sounds like they did teams or whatever. Representatives from Sig Sauer requested and were granted an opportunity to present during the November 13th meeting. During the meeting, they presented their PowerPoint presentation. They responded to questions. They confirmed similarities between the P320 and the M17 and 18 platforms, and they agreed to provide all content documents shared during the presentation. Now, Sig, this is where they're media guys, and I'm betting one of these dudes was a lawyer there for Sig. They talk about all the stuff that had happened with Sig Sauer and the P320 so far. Hold on. I'm just like Runny Nose McGee today. The $2.3 million judgment that Sig had. The Montville Police Department. Chat, this is like one of the most famous ones that happened. The cops are just standing there. And one of the cops starts doing, like, he's standing there. He leans over to do something. His gun goes off in the middle of a lobby. It's very, very, very clear that what did he do? Like, nothing. He didn't do anything. And it's one of the few times where he could say, I didn't do nothing. 100% this guy didn't do anything. And here is what happened, you guys. Here is the video. This is the Montville Police Department. I think it's in New Jersey. Anyways, here's what happens. They're just all standing around. And this is going to be the guy's gun's going to go off. And here we go, chat. Here is the gun going off. And you're going to see this guy right here in the middle of the screen. Watch what happens to him. And notice he's got a firearm in his holster right here. He's not touching it, not fucking with it. And watch what happens. And you can see it. You saw it right there, that little flash. Those little sparks. We'll do it right here. There you go. You saw that. That little bit where you saw. That was the gun going off. He didn't do anything to touch the damn gun. And it went off. And there's another video, there's a security camera footage of it too. And it's doesn't help at all either. So watch, it's going to be him again. Watch him. Watch him. You notice they're both like, they're all like, what happened? It's like Dark Side Phil, I didn't do anything wrong. I did nothing wrong. Like, well, except this time they didn't. Patty, there is no audio on that one, so suffer. You got the suffer on that one. There's no audio. So that happened, guys. That happened. And Sig's like, you know, like, listen, it's not that big a deal. It's like, is it really not that big a deal? They talk about the Milwaukee Police Department, unintended shooting, injuring a Milwaukee police officer. Another police officer in Indiana, involuntary accidental discharge. The deployment history of the P320, the drop safe upgrade. Sig offered an upgrade back in 2017. It was called a voluntary upgrade program you could do. And they changed some parts in your gun, but it was voluntary. It wasn't a recall. So recall implies there's something wrong. The 5-step process to fire the P320. Factors involved in involuntary discharge claims. Foreign objects contacting the trigger. Jarring and bumping the firearm. Jarring and bumping the firearm. Yes, like getting in and out of. Think about, like, we've watched these body cam videos, and some of you guys were cops or no cops. Also the police officers you run into. What happens to their duty belt and all the shit on their duty belt? It gets worn down and banged up and dinged up because getting in and out of the car when you have all that shit hanging off of you, it's not the same. If you guys have ever carried a firearm, it's a different vibe. You know, you have to make sure your pistol, even when it's concealed, it'll catch on things. Holsters with wide apertures that don't protect the trigger area. Well, wrong or modified damaged holsters. Unnecessarily handling equipment. The lack of familiarity with the firing mechanism. Transporting the firearm in an unconventional manner. Now, some of them, yes, and I think Ruckle covered this. One of the guys who recently went through things, he had just tucked the pistol in his waistband. He actually didn't have it like in a proper holster, and it went off. It's like, well, you don't do Mexican carry. It's not the right way to do it. That's stupid, period. But you know, if you have it, use a proper holster for your firearm. Don't just a holster is not where you cheap out on things, chat, because that can fucking kill you. They put out their 17 legal cases since 2020. Yeah, a guy blew his testicle off. Yeah. But they go through all the stuff that they've done here. All the different stuff. Like, look at all these excuses for the gun. The P320 and its variants. And they go through everything they cited here. They point out there's only the following conclusions. It can only fire if the trigger's been depressed. No P320 ever discharged during drop testing. Other people have been able to make it happen, though, so we know that's bullshit. The P320 revealed there's no evidence of fire control unit part slippage, primer deformation, or discharge during independent testing. Except for everybody else who's done it. For the involuntary discharge to occur, 3 separate components must all fail simultaneously. The primary striker, the secondary sear notch, and the safety lock. Okay. And they say at the outset, as introduced at the outset, the group was a bunch of different people. There's no indication that the agencies were authorized to speak on behalf of the respective agencies beyond offering a professional opinion. The opinions opposing the prohibition will be delineated as con, because, you know, they're con men, and then the people who are for it are pro. And they say con. There was a clear theme offered by the group against the temporary prohibition. The presentation by Sig Sauer was clear and convincing. Others supporting this argument suggested the lower legal standard of preponderance of the evidence is not sufficient to prohibit the P320, the M17, or the M18, which I think is hilarious because I guarantee you, if you showed up to the Criminal Justice Training Commission with a Serpa holster, and if you guys aren't aware of what those are, Serpa holsters are a type of firearm holster that have a notorious reputation for being extremely fucking dangerous. And if I'm going to show you a picture of one, and you're going to understand why very quickly. It's a very, very dangerous firearms holster. And wait, why is this? I sometimes it is frustrating when, yeah, because here we go, and this is a perfect picture. This is a Serpa holster. It's called a Serpa Lock. And if you notice something, chat, you're like, oh, wow. Well, if we draw the rest of the gun, here's the rest of the gun. Right? And the gun goes down. The gun comes up here and it comes out. And here's the whole gun going backwards. Okay? Now, notice the lock part is this little thing right here. And I'm going to paint that in blue. This part right here is the lock. This part right here is the lock. Okay. What does it lock around? Well, it locks around a very unique feature on the guns. The trigger. So the trigger is locked in behind the paddle. So you can't pull it out unless you depress this notch and as you pull the gun out. Well, think about what's going to happen when you do that. You're going to pull your finger out and you're going to yank it out of the holster, and it's a very common thing that's happened. People, like, if you sit there and just play with one, you sit there and depress it, and if you're not paying attention, easily, it fingers in the trigger as soon as it leaves the holster. Serpas are dangerous. They are not allowed in many situations. It's because it's unsafe. It's a holster. It's just not safe. There's also other issues with a Serpa holster, going back to it real quick. And the biggest thing with a Serpa holster is, for personal safety, if you ever had to use this, and this has been demonstrated, I think, in real life, but more importantly, when people go to training classes and they've gone to ranges where they have to like move around, or they've gotten on the ground, or things have happened, dirt and debris and all kinds of crud can get into this ingress point and lock up the locking mechanism, so you can't actually get your fucking gun out of the holster. It's a big problem. So Serpas are not well taken, and many places prohibit you from using them. You can't go to classes with Serpa holsters. So banning items is not uncommon. And now, Life Lesson Safariland is king for a reason. Yes, it is 100%. Safariland is the gold standard. Although, to be fair, Captain RB, if you use the military standard flap holster, that's about actually as safe as it gets. Because if that breaks, you got bigger problems. So. Now, from here, though, they talk about the other things that happen. And they say these members argued that this is not a legal argument for lower standards. Other members concluded that the uncommanded discharge is a mistake of the recruit, equipment management, safety protocols, human mechanics, or other obstructions. In addition, they suggested the firearms instructor needed more training. Ah, yes, it's everybody's fault but the gun. Although widely not supported, a working group member opined the online videos are propaganda from George Soros. Seriously, this guy's like, it's all part of Q. Where we go one, we go all, chat. It's Q. Soros is behind it. Like, I get it. He's an evil man and everything, but like, damn. Even though the members against the prohibition offered no evidence, they passionately argued against any video depictions, news articles, and personal testimonials from military or law enforcement personnel. Notice, they're going to look at that picture of their fellow police officer, the gun going off, and they're going to go, well, I don't know, man. It could have been CGI. Could have been the Jews. Although, yes, with a name like Ron Cohen, you tend to notice a lot of things. You tend to notice a lot of things, chat. Iowa Lemon says, just don't carry +1, bro. Well, no, you carry one in the pipe, dude. Shit's got to be ready to rock and roll. Robert would say, why are you trying to conceal a duty help bolster? No, I'm talking about the cops getting in and out of their car. You catch on everything. If you have a regular concealed handgun, you're like, till you practice getting in and out of a car, you're going to catch it on things. You know, you're not going to pay attention. You're going to bump into a door frame if you're not paying attention. But like, I got to make sure I don't like let it run into things and catch it on stuff. So, you know, you add a little bit, and you know, you make fun of me all you want. You're adding a little bit of width to your already current width, so you have to prepare for it. That's what I'm trying to explain here. I notice a lot of things. So, but yes, this is just absolute fucking nonsense. Yeah. Walking through the woods, you catch on everything. All right. All right, chat. So we keep moving here. And hopefully you guys can hear me okay still. The pro side of it. Pro banning. The agencies, they talked about due to these agencies have discontinued authorization. Local examples of it: the Vancouver, Canada Police Department, Clark County Sheriff's Office, the Pierce County Sheriff. Those are major counties in Washington. You know, large areas. There's a training incident where a park ranger was discussed. The recruit was reholstering their P320 and reportedly properly indexed it when it cracked off into the firing on the floor. They talk about 6 military installation uncommanded discharges, you know, have occurred since 2021. The most significant, this is prior to the guy getting killed, was at Okinawa, and the most significant event there was because of their impeccable maintenance and training records. Well, yes, the military, like, everything's recorded. They may not, like, you know, you don't get to do a whole lot of the guns. The guns are in generally good shape. They're just going to be very heavily worn on the outside. So they talk about, in addition, the clear and convincing video capturing the events, which ended up absolving the security guard of negligence. Because, honestly, chat, when these things first started happening, when you hear, oh, the gun went off, nobody ever fucking believes that. You wouldn't want to believe that. That's a dumbass argument to make. Except this guy was on camera, and he was going to get court-martialed, and it's like, oh, geez, I guess he was telling the truth. He was telling the truth. So, we move on from there. They talk about the other things that happened. The temporary prohibition from the DOD fiscal year 17 report, which outlined their drop testing of the M17 and 18. In summary, their testing revealed the striker struck the primer, causing a discharge. SIG implemented an engineering change proposal to correct the deficiency by implementing lightweight components in the trigger group. According to the report, this fix may have contributed to the splintering of 2 triggers. This report goes on to identify other solutions believed to be caused by the remedy for drop testing. The re-engineering of the trigger and lighter sear and striker is the last known public acknowledgement by SIG to customers of their program, which was prompted by the DOD report. Yeah, we don't know what else they've decided to do. And they say, here's our critical findings. So they say the final analysis, the report eliminated videos and articles from private content creators since they couldn't establish the veracity of the content. And that's fair. YouTube videos, you can't. Not reliable enough. I get it. So what do they stick to? Police-worn body cameras, surveillance videos, and police and military investigative reports, traditional news publications, TV outlets, civil filings and judgments, and content from SIG. So the decision to temporarily prohibit was done out of an abundance of caution. They say for these reasons and more, they decided to include a diverse group of individuals to figure out what's going on here. And they say despite the argument that it's impossible to happen, there's an abundance of allegations of this happening around the country and around the world. Exclusive to the P320, the M17, and the M18 platforms. Yeah. You don't hear about Beretta 92s going off. You don't hear about Glock 19s going off. You don't hear about Smith & Wesson M&Ps going off. You don't hear about high points going off. You don't hear about any of that. You don't. And yes, a high point pistol is safer than a P320. You know, it's not the obligation or objective of the executive director to dispel or prove any causation, but review the information. You got to make the best decision you can. So that's like, so what are we doing with this? Well, yeah, it's banned. It's banned. It's Darkside Phil would say, banned. So this is what they put together. This is their report. And then from there, the training commission issued a letter. And they said that they ultimately came to this statement here. And this is from the training commission. It's by the executive director. So what did they do? Well, they went over everything they had, and they decided that we are prohibiting it fully. So after reviewing this report, I found sufficient information to prohibit the Sig Sauer P320 M17 and 18 from all properties owned or leased by the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission indefinitely. This includes all sponsored training and special event facilities owned or leased. So if they're sponsoring training at the Spokane Police Department's range or a private range somewhere for cops to come out and train, it's all banned. No P320s allowed. No P320s allowed. Turin says, hot take, I kind of did like the look of the SIG. Yeah, I get it. It looks cool. Yeah. It's no longer a safety issue. It's liability. I agree. Every time now it's going to be blamed on the gun. Yeah. I 100% agree. Yes, last night I was kind of like, I don't even, like, I woke up and people in Discord were talking about like the stream still going, and I fired streaming on my phone. I'm like, oh shit, it's still going. Yeah, I thought I turned it off. So yeah, whoops-a-doodle. Real quick though, we got some things to get to. EDW Raptor says $2. Happy birthday, Sean. Well, thank you. And with that said, chat, tonight we are going to do where did I put it? Oh, because that's as 2.0 like said, 40 things for my 40th. Here's another thing for 2.0. So we're gonna get this one going real quick. We're gonna do that right away here. So let's get this going here. These things are getting like so. It's like very thick and like sturdy wrapping paper. I remember wrapping paper used to be like, I feel like if we got it wet, it would fall apart. But this stuff's like waterproof. It's actually kind of impressive. So we have here a, okay. Well, that's actually, well, I say it looks easy, but I probably will fuck this up. This is a little bit more stuff too that go along with the other stuff they have out there. It's a little water buffalo and cargo trailer. Cool. Thank you, sweetheart. And as we're working on that, howitzer, like I can put that all together like as a little thing, like a little diorama or something, a little setting. So we'll probably do that. Thank you, sweetheart. Hold on. Hey, sweetheart. Thank you. What? Did I do what? The model. I opened the present. I thought you heard me. Okay. Well, see how much she loves me if she doesn't pay attention to the show. That's okay. EDW Raptor for $5 says this lawsuit leaves a Sig Sauer taste in my mouth. Smog and Mog for $5. I think that's Nick Croy's, right? I think you did some memberships last night. You did some subs last night, I think, when I was sleeping. For $5. We went all night, chat. We did it. Yeah, you went till like 10 o'clock in the morning. Thank you. Jason J for $2 says, how screwed is Sig Depends on how much they like. No, their Sig is fucked. All these people are going to sue them. The military is probably going to, like, I don't see how they survive this. Because the XM7, the rifle they produce, is not going to get adopted widely. It's got problems. I mean, they're not going to make any, they're losing money on all this stuff. Cops quit using the P320. People are going to quit using the P320. I guarantee you a lot of ranges and gun clubs are going to ban the P320 from showing up. So SIG's fucked. I don't see how they survive this. 2 or 3 years from now, I don't see how SIG's alive. Bilson is saying for $5, I bet this lawsuit will save SIG, guys. It'll totally work, guys. Everyone will forget about the WGP video. Yes, Wyoming Gun Project video. And the Air Force and the FBI reports. I know. This is going to save them. It's going to save them. Thank you for the super chat, man. I appreciate it. But then Fairfos at 55 for $10 says, wrong. Actually, the P320 is the premier cutting-edge advancement of the M17-18 of the United States Armed Forces. It is not castrated or killed pigs by error, but by its own intelligent design and for the lols. Thank you. Yes, that is correct. It's working as intended. Bless you. 2.0 has that sniffles too. Kitchen Knife Rescue is a new member. Thank you for re-upping. Then Robert Lawrence for 5 subs. Let's get this going, chat. That deserves an awoo. It deserves an awoo. There's never a bad time for an awoo. The Authorized J says, Sean, clearly the policeman was standing there wrong. It's known that if you stand wrong and scare your P320, it will go off. Yes, it's just like a shelter dog. If you scare it, it'll bite you. Hydrosphere 13 has been a member for 1 month. He says, 07's for that cop's ball that got blown off. Yep. I will say 07's in the chat, but that was a retarded way to carry your gun without a holster. Jefferson Post says, so SIG thinks the Type 94 Namboos are range safe too? Territory says, how many P320 ads will you encounter with the following verbiage? SIG P320 for sale, 1 owner owned, looking for a second owner. Oh, yeah, God, they're going to be hard to, like, I mean, at some point, it might be cool to buy, like, a brand new, rarely shot, high-capacity pistol for, like, $100. But, yeah, SIGs are, nobody's going to buy them. I can't imagine trying to sell them at a gun store. You'll get anything for them now. Dr. Nick, yes, the M18 has a manual safety. The military guns have manual safeties. And they're still having this issue. Like, there's a lot here that doesn't add up. Philip Coggins is saying for $10 regarding the gun getting caught on things. Yes, the scene of Band of Brothers where Corporal Hubler shoots himself with a Luger. Yeah, there's like he's actually Hubler gets killed with a pistol he found. But yes, it got caught on. I forget what it got caught on, but yeah, it was like an FN Colt. But still, like pistols getting caught on things, like people like your trigger getting caught on things it's a very real possibility. That's why like leather holsters are not preferred for people anymore, because the leather can get soft and it can kind of like dip down in there and it can kind of catch on the trigger. There's a lot of things like, yeah, it's very dangerous. Shit can get caught very easy. Jefferson Post says, Massachusetts required a drop test for handgun makes to sell. Yes. Massachusetts, like California, has a handgun roster, and it's ridiculous. Florence Dono is saying, remember 14 months or 17 months. Ugh, so that was a great job reading that. It says, the High Peasy is now superior to the P320. Rejoice. Yes. The made in Ohio, exclusively out of beautiful Mansfield, Ohio, the High Point C9, the Yeet cannon, is more reliable than the Sig Sauer P320. Thank you for being here. 17 months. All right, guys. So we're gonna keep going. So we're gonna figure out, like, if you're Sig Sauer, what do you do in response to this? Because you're like, well, shit, we just got dizzled, right? Like, this is bad. This is not good. So what do we do? What do we do for Sig Sauer? Well, some of you might think like, oh, we should go on a robust PR campaign. If you're Sig Sauer, what do you do right now? A robust PR campaign? Nah. We'll just blame the consumer and blame the user. Okay. Will you go and fix the gun? Well, no, nothing's wrong with it. And even if there was, we couldn't afford to fix them all. We die. So we're not doing that. What's the only other option? Go on the offensive and file frivolous lawsuits. And that's what Sig Sauer did. That's what Sig Sauer did here. Sig Sauer filed a lawsuit in Washington state courts. And they filed it back in June, but this is before everything had exploded out of control. Sig was doing pretty good at maintaining the narratives, and things were quiet. So this is out of Thurston County, Washington. And it's a petition for judicial review, and they wanted a declaratory judgment. So what did they want? Well, it was Sig Sauer versus the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission, and Monica Alexander as the executive director in her official capacity. So what do they talk about? Well, they talk about that Sig Sauer submitted this petition for review and declaratory judgment to remedy an improper decision by the training commission to prohibit the current Sig Sauer P320 firearms from all properties owned or leased indefinitely. They contest the challenges in the petition. They scribe therein. They talk about the pistol report, and they talk about the action taken. So what happens here? Well, they say that this is harmful. This is unnecessary, unprecedented, and not well-grounded in law or facts, and it's harmful to Sig Sauer. And then the poor policemen in Washington that trust and rely on the P320 for use by their officers, who can't train or certify their officers on essential equipment or perform critical public safety duties. So Sig is seeking appropriate remedies, including a stay, a reverse, and a revising of the action. So they're asking for an injunction. No, you can't ban our dangerous shit. No, we have the right to the people, the government. And this is where I will say there's a channel out there, Guns and Gadgets and Gear, I think. And he brought up like, this could be used as a Second Amendment thing. No, this is not about the Second Amendment. This is about equipment standards and training. This is also not a Second Amendment issue because the government has no right to the Second Amendment. So this is all just nonsense out there. It's nonsense out there. So, no, this is about the agency's action, and it was done improperly. And they say Sig Sauer is an American company headquartered in New Hampshire, incorporated in Delaware. They make the P320 and the M17 and 18. Sig Sauer has the greatest respect for law enforcement and places the highest standards on ensuring the performance and safety of the firearms that bear its name. Do you really? I don't think so. The P320 is entrusted by law enforcement professionals, military, and responsible citizens worldwide. SIG is proud of its outstanding safety record and quality firearms. Well, if you talk to people, the last 20 years, quality has kind of gone like, yeah. So if you're looking to buy like a P226 or a P229, don't buy anything made in the last 10, 15 years. Their quality control has been atrocious. Their quality control has been garbage. Like SIG is not... SIG has had problems for decades. They say this matter is appropriate for judicial review. And they say that SIG filed a timely application for these proceedings contesting the action. They say 3 cities in Western Washington filed an application for adjudicative stay. And they say the Training Commission failed to act or indicate whether the application had been approved or if there was an adjudicative proceeding at all. And notice what they're getting to, guys. They're talking about agency action. This is an administrative issue. This is not about the Second Amendment. This is not about torts. This is about the agency and did it follow its rules and properly do things. So they say the executive director has been participating in media interviews, spreading false, unreliable, and misleading information to the media and the public nationwide regarding the P320. No, it's dangerous. Do not use one. Are they talking about May 1st, 1 month after the appeals happened? SIG sent correspondence requesting a schedule conference and indicate whether it would be conducting an adjudicative proceeding. And they say that the training commission failed to respond. And I don't, ultimately, I don't think they have to. They can say, for the same reason, you can't, they set standards for the equipment. If you show up without it, you're not allowed to do stuff. And they point out that these disparage and defame SIG and remove any obligation for appealing parties to exhaust administrative remedies. It's like, well, disparaging and defaming you guys do that yourself. You blame everybody else but you. They say no administrative exhaustion is necessary, and the court may take actions against the training commission because it's an improper rule. Now, notice what they're talking about here. They did not follow proper rulemaking process under the Administrative Procedures Act. You might say, well, wait, no, that's the federal law. No, there are analogous state laws to all these things, chat. These states all have their own analogous acts for establishing how agencies operate and govern themselves. And they say this is an improper rule. And they talk about this action violates state law. And this is a unique theory that they're arguing here. This is inconsistent with the state's preemption of the field of firearms regulations under 9.41 of the Washington statutes. Now, what does that mean, state preemption? So think about your state. And your state, pick whatever state it is, you could have town to town. They could pass, for a long time it's happening, certain towns would possess, actually, I'll use Ohio here for an example. We'll use Ohio. Okay, chat, here's the state of Ohio. Now, the way it would work up and for a long time throughout, up until about 15 years ago now, the city of Toledo, they could pass a law banning the possession of high-capacity magazines, 30-round magazines. And then around Toledo, some of the suburbs might agree. Some of them might agree. Some of them might disagree. But every town around them would have a different law, one way or another. And then in Cleveland would ban them. And then other towns might do differently. In some places, the county itself might pass a law. So an entire county might have passed a law one way or another. And then you get to Columbus, and Columbus would have a different law. And then the suburbs of Columbus could have different laws in place. And Cincinnati could have a different law. And then a town over here could have a different law. And a town over here could have a different law. And a town over here could have a different law. Driving down this highway right here, you could have different towns with different laws as you go. And I could drive through one town. I could drive through all those towns with that item. And it might be illegal or legal depending on where you happen to be driving through at that very second. So, for example, a 30-round magazine. I could be driving from Cleveland to Columbus, and I could go through 15 different towns. And there could be 15 different laws, and I could have either broken the law or complied with the law 15 different times. How is that fair? That's a patchwork of laws. That's not reasonable. That doesn't make sense. So what did Ohio and many states do with the Second Amendment? Well, they did something pretty based. Because usually towns that were doing stuff were just bans on things. And if you guys ever try to buy magazines or ammunition, you'll see down below there'll be like a... it'll say we can't ship to like a entire state, but then it'll also say where states that's like, we can't ship to California, but it'll say can't ship to Indianapolis, Indiana. Can't ship to Cook County, Illinois is another common one. Can't ship to wherever. Okay, but what happens? Well, the state of Ohio came through, and this happens in Washington as well, and they said, look, you guys can't do this anymore. Any gun laws passed are going to be passed by us in Columbus, and it affects everybody. So no more little individual laws. That makes things fair for the average person because now they don't have to worry, you have one law for the entire state. So that's what they're arguing when they talk about statewide preemption. But I still don't think they are grasping for straws. I'll give them credit. This is a good argument. It's like a clever argument. It's just not the right argument. They fully occupies this statute. It preempts. And what are they talking about by preemption? It sucks all the oxygen out of the room. It eats all the food at the table. There's nothing else for anybody else to snack on. It fully occupies and preempts the entire field of firearms regulation within the boundaries of the state. And it considers registration, license. Well, that sucks in registration and in licensing in Washington. Sorry. F's in the chat for the state of Washington. Possession, purchase, sale, acquisition, transfer, discharging of it, and transportation of firearms. A state legislator has the authority to modify where firearms are prohibited. And this action prohibits the firearms from all facilities applicable to anyone who steps foot on them. And that goes beyond its legal statutory authorities preempted by state statute. I don't think that's correct, though. But that is what they're arguing. They have to hang their hat on this. They have to hang their hat on this. And if that's all you got, that's all you got. It's a clever argument. I don't think it'll work, though. I don't think it'll work. So. Now, what do they talk about more about? Well, they talk about there's constitutional rights here at a minimum. I mean, kind of. I mean, your right to sell things, because this is where it gets to the idea of regulating a field contained in the right to bear arms. It's not really a constitutional issue. You're not being this is a tough one to argue that this is not a Second Amendment related issue here. But if that's what you got, that's all you got to argue. And they say, even if it's properly promulgated by the state through its police powers, which it does, it has the power to regulate things. The regulations must be reasonable and must follow proper formal rulemaking and lawmaking. Yes, you have to follow proper rulemaking, but was this necessary? And he says, they say this action jeopardizes law enforcement personnel and operations. Well, that's not I'd argue there's a standing issue here. What is Sig Sauer's standing? Sig Sauer is suing on behalf of cops? No, those guys need to sue. Sig is trying to sue because they want to make money. So the idea that they could do this is a load of horse shit to me. It's an absolute load of horse shit. I don't think this works here. I think this is just there's a little bit of bullshit here. So, real quick, Bilson is saying for $2, but doesn't Columbus, and that's C-Bus, have a 30-round magazine ban? Yeah, and it's not legal. They have it in effect, but just like Cleveland, they got their dicks slapped a bunch of times by the Supreme Court. That law would not be legally binding on you. They could charge you, but you would get that overturned on appeal. But no, it is not a valid law. It is not a validly passed law. It's been preempted. Did I see the most dangerous shake weight, Sean? No, I did not. Is that the one you and Max share? Meme Copium, guys, friend of the show. Hello, Josh. Are you back to streaming again and making content? Or are you still on vacation, you slacker? I haven't seen any dino streams lately. And they say that it hurts all the police departments because they trust, rely on, and prefer the P320 as their service pistol of choice. Okay, they might trust it, rely on, and prefer it, but nobody else does, and it's dangerous. Like the fact that we trust it. Okay, no one else does, and you're retarded. But that's not fair to us. Tough, too bad. Suffer. And it says, by banning the P320 for new recruits, you're putting men and women at a disadvantage when they enter the field and will be assigned the P320. Well, that's kind of normal. There's a lot of police departments where you have to use the department issue gun. So what? The action also imposes negative financial impacts on all those agencies who utilize the P320 and Sig Sauer. Shit happens. I guess they're going to have to sue you, Sig. I guess they're going to have to sue you for the fucking cost of having to unfuck this mistake. It further inappropriately and unjustifiably inflicts reputational and economic harm on Sig Sauer. No, you guys earned that one on your own. I mean, remember, chat. Remember, as we go here, is this reputational harm unfairly? Is that an unfair reputational harm? Is this an unfair reputational harm to Sig? You know, is that unfair? I mean, clearly it's not. Clearly it's not. So, oh, it's so you're doing all stream dinos today. Ooh, chat. We gotta hurry this up. So while they make these arguments about the rulemaking, this other garbage here is just nonsense. And they talk about this. The interviews disparaging SIG, the nationwide affect the business and reputation worldwide. Various agencies, training facilities, and public entities continue to reference the 320 ban and implementing their own bans. Court action, but including a stay and or injunctive relief, is necessary to stop further improper public comment and prevent additional reputational harm. This is so bullshit. On or about June 3rd, as a result of this action, the city of Bellevue, Washington, was forced to replace the P320 as a standard duty department-issued firearm at a significant cost to the city. Well, guess who they're going to come? Guess what they should be doing? Whose door should they be knocking on right now with a lawsuit? The answer to that is not the training commission. They should be knocking on your door to fix that. You need to make that right. Because the P320 is now prohibited, the city is changing its department-issued firearm system. And despite the continued belief in the reliability of their current arms, and despite the city's recognition that consistency and safety are key for all training, and they say that switching firearms and training and deployment of that creates additional disadvantages for police recruits. I mean, it's a fucking firearm. It's a pistol. Basically, as long as you can rack the slide, load a magazine, and you pull the trigger, chat, this is basically every fucking firearm. This whole thing is just nonsense here because if you can operate this, if you can operate that, chat, you can operate basically every pistol that's been made since 1904 in any quantities. The amount of guns that operate on that, loading a magazine, racking the slide, and engaging the trigger, is basically everything except for the C96 and maybe a handful of other esoteric guns that never really made it anywhere. But the idea that's so foreign to you from using a Glock 19 or a Beretta or an M&P is absolutely fucking ridiculous. Lurking fences, clearing malfunctions. The SIG P320 and the Glock 17 are going to be the same way. The M&P is going to be the same way. Most of these are going to be the same. Most of these are going to be the same. So, what happened last night? I was really sleepy and I thought I logged out and said goodnight, everybody, and I didn't stop it. So, suffer is what happened. And then I went to bed. And then I didn't come in here because I was doing other stuff. And apparently you guys are like, oh, it's still going. So that's what happened. So they say, this action is erroneous. It's erroneous. It's prejudicial. It's contrary to statutes. And it's inconsistent with practices and rulemaking, which this might be the one thing that helps SIG right here. If they didn't follow the rules properly. It lacked a due process. And maybe it did. I don't know. We'll have to see what you have to do there. I don't know if that's required. It appears based on inaccurate or incomplete facts. Okay, well, that's bullshit. And not supported by substantial evidence. It is, though. And is it arbitrary and capricious? No. They say to the extent required, they incorporate the actions herein and the documents herein. And they say, compounding the harms, the inaction, the director has been making disparaging public comments about SIG and the P320. And they appeared on the program Inside Edition. That's it. I didn't know that. That's very interesting. Inside Edition did an episode on this, but that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I wasn't aware that had happened. I wasn't aware that had happened like that. I tried to do a sleeping stream, yeah. Showing the gun is brave. I just did it for a second as a demonstrative, so that's why. So yep, tap, and Karam's right. Tap, rack, boom. You basically have operated every handgun that's been manufactured in the past 125 years, and it will be basically every handgun you might encounter today in a military or police or civilian situation. Any other types of semi-automatic handguns that would operate any differently, you're not likely going to find them or run into them. Oh, hold on. There we go. It's back here. So, you guys got some good questions here. We'll take a look at it. So the Inside Edition was only cool when it was featured in Dumb and Dumber. Yeah, well, I thought that was like hard copy or whatever. So anyways, they talk about the identification of parties and the agency actions. Sig Sauer, and they talk about their attorneys. The name and mailing address for the agency action, it's the Criminal Justice Training Commission. And they talk about the action dated February 24th, the letter banning everything, prohibiting them from all properties owned or leased or done with. They say as an initial measure, SIG submitted an application for an adjudicated proceeding on March 26th. I think it's a little late. Why weren't you asking for one ahead of time? I think SIG kind of thought like, oh, it's okay. And now this happened. They're like, whoa, buddy. We didn't think this was going to happen. So I think SIG was full of their own shit and didn't realize they should have been ahead. Like, is there, like, when they filed all this stuff, is there an adjudicated process? What's like, while this was happening, I think they thought they could just bullshit their way through the hearing. But they weren't ready for the one guy who thought George Soros was behind it. Oh, there's a Kit Kat on our... Hi, Chewy. Choo-choo. Meow. Come here, Chewy. There's a kitty cat on the cat tree. Normally not here, but I have company tonight. So, they say standing. Petitioner is standing to obtain judicial review of the action. And they say because SIG is aggrieved or adversely affected by the action. I mean, maybe. The agency is prejudiced Sig Sauer. I don't know about that. SIG's interests are among those they were required to consider when it engaged in the action. Okay. And a judgment reversing the action would substantially eliminate or redress the prejudice. I mean, they're aggrieved, but that's about it. Moreover, the courts could conduct review of agency rules, and they can. And that's typically what you do. If an agency does something wrong, you appeal it. That's the standard for like at the federal level, the NLRB, the ATF, you appeal those rulemakings. At your state levels, you could do that too. Your Department of Transportation, your Department of whatever, any governmental body, you could do it. And the Training Commission is a governmental body. And you have jurisdiction pursuant to the Washington Administrative Procedures Act. And the issuance constituted an agency action to adopt a rule or enforce an order adverse to SIG. They say the exhaustion of remedies is excused. And we talked about this before. Normally, you have to file administrative remedies, and you have to exhaust them. You have to follow the procedures and run out all that stuff to show, look, we tried everything else and it didn't work. Now they're pointing out we're not required to do that for multiple reasons. It's not required before filing a petition for review if there's no adequate administrative remedy to exhaust. So if there's no process in place for you to appeal it and challenge it, well, there's no remedy to deal with. The executive director's action did not notify SIG of a right to appeal or indicate that exhaustion of remedies is required. Well, here's the problem, though. SIG was not facing anything specifically. Like, this was a determination of things. So it wasn't like SIG had been notified, we are looking at not using your gun anymore like that. That was I don't know how that's going to work here, but this might be the one place they win. You didn't do it right. But there might have been anything to do right. So they say they filed an application for a proceeding a month after it happened. And even if a court were to find that exhaustion was required, You can excuse it when it would be inadequate or it would be futile. And it's true. We tried. They've already done it and they told us to fuck off. Okay, well, we're done. And they say no action has been taken. And it's evident from the comments that any such action would be futile. Yeah, we're not going to allow the gun. No administrative remedies are required to have been exhausted. And they say facts supporting judicial review. And they say that on October 17th, there was a letter sent to unspecified stakeholders regarding 2 incidents of discharges by students while training with agency-issued P320s. You know, the letter also referenced 2 news articles that out of an abundance of caution, we're not going to authorize it in our agency-owned or contracted facilities. You know, they further noted this temporary thing. They would do the work group, and they would consist of staff and stakeholders. The letter did not expressly reference the M17 or 18 made by Sig Sauer. It's the same fucking gun. And they point out, well, technically, they're variants that are equipped with thumb safeties. Yeah. They were selected by the military as a new sidearm pursuant to the modular handgun system and were extensively tested. No, they weren't. You guys paid people off prior to the award of the contract to SIG. Yeah, that apparently. In addition, that these pedals, which come with thumb safeties, SIG also offers certain models with an optional manual thumb safety in the P320. Many agencies made the affirmative decision not to equip their officers with manual safeties based on the philosophy of sidearm usage. And yes, the military needs those because you need, a handgun is not a primary weapon for military personnel. A handgun is not the primary weapon for military personnel. For cops, it is their go-to weapon. So not having a thumb safety, it's faster deployment. You don't need it. It's one more thing that can break. Yes, Nathan is right. Maybe this lawsuit filed itself. Yes, that's actually what happened here. Barbara Vance saying, why Roman Neshin died in 2024? Why does this matter more? Oh, because he's a person of color. That says it all. Well, I mean, I think actually the bigger issue is nobody knew about him until all the information came out just now. I never heard of that guy. I didn't know anybody had actually been killed. I knew there were a lot of injuries for SIG pistols. But a airman dying in a controlled environment with very strict weapons accountability, that makes a lot of noise and a lot of news. So, yeah, there are 2 people that have been killed by these. But I barely have been able to do any reading about Roman. But I understand what you're saying, but nobody knew. Didn't matter that the airman was black. It's just a military member died from shoddy construction practices. So, that's why you didn't hear about it, because it was a white dude. No, if it was a white dude getting killed on an Air Force base, we would have heard about it too. I guarantee you at this point. Yeah, the airman is black. I get that. Yes, drop the lawsuit on the ground. Don't do that. And then it goes off. Don't do that. Don't do that, chat. So they say the action does not make any distinction between the P320s with safeties. Everything was kicked out. Yep. Yeah. And they say that they want, SIG provided a response letter. They provided a response letter to the October thing, rebutting the assertions and noting the P320 is one of the most tested, proven, and chosen sidearms in all small arms history. The Glock 17 and Glock 19 would beg to differ. As designed, the P320 cannot discharge without a trigger pull. They have to say it, chat. They're stuck with that. Otherwise, they're done. It cannot discharge without a trigger pull, and multiple redundant safeties prevent this from occurring. The response further noted a disproportionate number of alleged unintended discharges are associated with pistols carried in light-bearing holsters. Yes, they're carried in light-bearing holsters. Because you make a gun that has a Picatinny rail accessory for a flashlight to go on it. So you can shoot out and shine your light out with a flashlight. Yes, because you designed it because people do that. Now they talk about the work group. As the manufacturers, SIG participated in the work group. They made presentations and provided testimony. They provided information. And they say, as ever noted, despite the large number of SIG P320s in circulation, over 3.5 million, the Training Commission relied on a handful of alleged incidents of unintended discharges in its report. Despite the assertions, unproven allegations, and speculative theories, the P320 can only fire if the trigger is actuated, involving 5 independent actions to disengage the internal safeties. No P320 has revealed any evidence of fire control unit part slippage, primer deformation, or discharge during independent laboratory or vibration and shock. In transport testing, multiple components must all fail simultaneously for that to occur. And it sounds like that's happening. And no one's been ever able to replicate a discharge of the P320 without a trigger pull. I don't know, the Wyoming gun guy figured out how to do it. No credible theory for how the sidearm could discharge has been supported. Now the M17 and 18, SIG received no notice of the expansion of the prohibition. Okay, you should have realized that was going to happen to all of them. You know, they say this is inconsistent and prejudicial towards SIG. Sorry, SIGgers, keep moving. On the one hand, it states SIG was a workgroup member, yet did not include SIG on all aspects of the process, and elected not to provide notices of its actions and decisions to Sig Sauer, despite SIG's presentations to the workgroup. Did you ask for them? And they say the report which we just read through, the report lacks actual findings or conclusions. In summarizing the pro and con opinions expressed, the Training Commission noted there was a clear theme offered by the workgroup members against the prohibition. The presentation by SIG was clear and convincing. And they say that they can provide no evidence to the contrary. Moreover, the critical findings and conclusions, there are no actual findings. Well, just ones you don't like. Instead, they begin the section by acknowledging the information available on the P320 is abundant, which creates challenges to reach consensus for or against a prohibition. Accordingly, the report makes no factual findings. It does, though. Instead, it cites to an abundance of allegations of uncommanded discharges. And they say it's not the objective to dispel or prove any causation. And they say, indeed, the report was the basis of the prohibition, fails to evaluate, include, or reference key information, but not limited to the report analysis on the weapons involved in the accidental discharges. In particular, the firearm involved where the recruit shot at the ground. In addition, rather than evaluating these instances, instead links to news stories about those discharges. They say a permanent prohibition of the P320 is not the best decision for those stated objectives. It prevents students and law enforcement agencies of a widely respected, tested, and preferred surface sidearm. Well, that's because it sucks. Yes, this is just Tiny Smooth saying SIG should take accountability. If they take accountability, they go bankrupt. Because they're going to get sued into oblivion and they can't afford to fix 3.5 million pistols. They literally have to redesign parts, and they can't do that. It costs too much money. Yes, this is a correct argument. And you go, well, actually, it's not permanent. It's just indefinite. Ha, ha, ha. So we can always reject it at any time. They should have made that argument. They say this is particularly true as nobody has ever replicated a P320 pistol without ever firing. The lack of findings or conclusions, the action was based on belies the fallacy of the executive director's public statements. And they say the action at issue, you have to identify this per agency actions. You say the adverse effect on us, well, there's economic harm on Sig Sauer. The action prejudice is likely to prejudice SIG as well as agencies that use the P320, but not limited to the inability to use or carry it, but the associated negative impacts. Yeah, it's going to cost a lot of money. SIG and the other agencies that utilize the P320 have been given no opportunity to respond, No opportunity to offer comment. No time to explore the full impacts of such a decision. It's going to bankrupt us. And no time to adjust operations. This is infringed on SIG's and other making agency's interest. And they say impacted agencies have policies requiring uniformed honored duty officers to be armed at all times. In order to be an armed peace officer, the officer need to be certified. That includes certified on firearms and certified to be instructors. And yeah, that's an issue. If you're not certified, well, like, how do you train that? What's the issues here? And they say the commission never acted to regulate the firearms and equipment that law enforcement agencies utilize. They say that the training commission has not provided the statutory authority to do so. And they say that the training commission should continue giving agencies the discretion to choose their firearms and equipment. The unfounded precedent of you can use it, you just can't use it anywhere we want, like we're holding things. Sorry. The unfounded precedent undermines agencies because they're dictating without notice what firearms they can use, without legislative authority, without following rulemaking. And it goes beyond ordinary prohibition, which only impacted the students and training staff. It now prohibits the carrying by all visiting officers and persons who step on their properties. It says police departments who utilize a P320 cannot operate long-term without replacing the P320 as their standard issue firearm. Womp, womp, womp. It's not like it's their money anyway. Impacts go just beyond the budget. They talk about and all the important accessories, holsters and optics, which SIG is going to lose out on. It's at a time period that is outside government budget cycles. The impacts include law enforcement personnel ability to attend graduations and other events. Womp, womp, womp. Personal ability to attend mandatory sponsored training, even when it's not operated by the training commission. And then training and qualification time and salary the agency will need to respend and retrain and requalify. Well, it sounds like SIG is worried they're going to be out a lot of damages and cost. Yes, and guess who's going to do that? Those police departments should be knocking on SIG's door and going, Hey, we had to replace your shitty gun. You owe us for this. We had to retrain our officers. We had to take time off for that. They had to get retrained. We had to buy new holsters and equipment. They have to requalify. You owe us a ton of fucking money. Yeah, there you go. Like there's an entire thing that's happening here. Now, if they did it improperly, you know what? Fine, we'll do it the right way. We're still going to fucking shut it down. Because now we've got the airmen getting killed. Do you think what's happened lately, SIG, you're going to get a better shake going forward? No. Zakuz is saying, I didn't think of the holster aspect. Yeah. And guys, if you don't own guns or pistols, you buy a holster, like a holster to carry a gun in. You generally don't buy holsters anymore as the common. You don't, your gun should have a proper fitting holster. So if you have 15 guns you want to carry, you should have 15 different holsters at minimum, one for each gun. That's, and if you have a gun and it's got a light on the bottom of it, well, now you need a different holster that can fit the light in there too. I mean, there's an entire, spare magazines. Okay, well, you need to buy extra magazines for these guns you're buying. The magazine holders, they're going to have different dimensions. So the little magazine holders cops wear on their belts. There's little plastic cups, but they're all different sized. There is so much money in guns yet. Yeah, there's so much here. This is there's so much here. Now, I do think this is the only, I wondered how this is going to work here, but I'll be curious. The rulemaking process has been referenced as a basis. They say upon information and belief. And this means we can't say for sure, but this is the way you get to say things without getting in trouble of committing perjury and making false statements. Other agencies have imposed or are considering their own P320 prohibitions by relying on the training council's action. Well, yeah. The certifying organization, because there might be police departments that let you use your own handgun. And a lot of departments do. You could bring your own handgun in. You have to train on it and qualify for it. It has to be a gun that can be, it's a common one. Like they'll give you a list and you'll qualify on it. But the P320 probably won't be on that list. These agencies, but are not limited to the Oklahoma Council on Law Enforcement Education and Training. That's the Oklahoma version of the Criminal Justice Council. The Denver Police Department, the Chicago Police Department. The National Fraternal Order of Police has issued a statement on it. And they talk about P320 prohibitions by law enforcement agencies who have not experienced a discharge. Well, I think it's funny. Are you saying it's okay? Like, Sig is almost saying if you have experienced a discharge, it's okay. Because notice, they're pointing out this is wrong. When you think about it, though, here's the problem. You just said, well, that's not fair. Well, guess who just had it? Who experienced accidental discharges? The Criminal Justice Training Commission. Like, this is a contradictory statement here, in my opinion. I think you have a problem with your logic here, Sig. That's a bit of an issue. That's a bit of an issue. That's a bit of an issue to me. But anyways, you guys are saying like there's a couple million SIGs out there, but like Glock 17s in existence is going to be millions. Then how many Glock 19s are going to be out there? Like, you just think about that. Like, how many Glocks have been made? 20 million as of 2020. That's at a minimum. That's not even counting all the different things that are out there that's similar. But think about it. Think about this last little bit here. Well, it's been relied on by agencies who have not experienced it. Well, the CJTC did. So I don't think you can have it both ways if you're SIG here. Like these are inconsistent arguments here, I think. They say the basis for relief. And once again, they say the agency is unauthorized and invalid rule. It fails to comply with the rulemaking, which this might get them. And they say the regulated decisions, the SIG objects, challenges, and contests the action. I think by sitting on it for a month, you may have lost the ability to do that. They say SIG objects and challenges and contest any and all parts of the action that can be construed in any way as evidentiary ruling adverse to Sig Sauer. There's a big issue with that because this could be used in their civil cases. This finding, chat, like this is a big deal for them because this could be used at trial in a lawsuit going forward, saying that the police training commissions say that this thing is dangerous because it's an evidentiary ruling. This could be used against SIG. And SIG is terrified of that right now. This is bad. This is really bad. So this is not good for them. Like this could be used against them. They object and challenge to contest all purported critical findings because once again, this is SIG worried about what's going to. And guys, ultimately, SIG is worried about the money. They're worried about getting sued by these police departments in Washington. But more importantly, this is all going to be used in lawsuits going forward. SIG is terrified because this is going to fuck them. Because people are going to sit on a jury and go, oh, well, the police said it's bad. They're liable. So they talk about that the weight of evidence relied upon is insufficient. You know, they claim that the training commission did not act within their statutory and regulatory authority. Like they have problems here. They're contesting the actions of the commission here. And they said, what did they do? Well, they didn't do the rulemaking properly. They violated the rulemaking process. Remember, with the federal APA, we see that you have to have the notice and comment period. You have to do a notice of proposed rulemaking as well. And then when they issue their ruling, they have to talk about the entire process, the comments that were made, and what their explanations and responses are to those comments. They said there was a lack of appropriate notice of procedures. The temporary letters stated they will not authorize it in our agency owner contract to facilities until further notice. And they say later that expanded it to cover a wide array of locations, but also all three types of guns. But it's not all Sig Sauer firearms. You could show up with a 226 or a 229. Although I doubt there's any organizations in Washington that issue the 226 or 229 or would let you carry it, but who knows? Maybe there are. This violates state law. Once again, they're talking about state preemption. I don't think that's right. I don't think it's going to work. I think this is a bad argument to make, but you got to work with what you got. Okay. The action implicates and infringes on the rights and thus should be subjected to at least formal rulemaking. But I still think you would argue even the formal rulemaking is preempted. I don't know how you can make the statement about doing the rulemaking, but then scream and cry about preemption. I still don't think that preemption would, if there's preemption, I don't see how this would count still. They issue the action without substantive and procedural due process. That is something you are entitled to if it's determined to be an agency action. They erred in the application of their authority. They failed to adequately consider evidence. I mean, that one's going to be a tougher one because they could say we considered evidence and we didn't deem it credible. And the court's going to be like, yeah, okay, it's up to you. They made evidentiary rulings adverse to Sig Sauer that were improper. And, the action was not supported by substantial or adequate evidence. That one's still kind of like, I don't think you're going to get that. Some of these other ones, they actually have some good arguments to make. And they say it failed to provide notice of the action to SIG. And they say that, the legal error is arbitrary and capricious, which is also something agencies cannot do. So they want, under the Administrative Procedures Act, they want relief from an agency rule. So what do they want here? Well, that this is an issue that it violates the violation of which subjects a person to a penalty or administrative sanction. It establishes, alters, or revokes any procedure, practice, or requirement relating to agency hearings. Does it establish, alter, or revoke any qualification requirement to the enjoyment of benefits or privileges conferred by law? No, I don't think it's Part C. There's no administrative penalties or sanctions. Does it revoke any procedure, practice, or requirement? No, it wasn't actually a change of anything. So it's not all those. But I think they're going to argue it's D, which establishes, alters, or revokes any qualifications or standards for the issuance, suspension, or revocation of licenses pursuant to an activity, which it's not, commercial activity, no, but it is a trade or profession. I think that's the correct one here because Part E, establishes, alters, or revokes mandatory standards, which must be met before sale. Okay, well, that's not it. I think it's Part D is the only thing they're going to be able to. That's the only thing that applies to them. Because the rest of it doesn't. Now, I might be wrong. Maybe there is some case law that says this agency action falls within the corners of this, but okay, fine. I'll be wrong. But just looking at it on its face, I don't think so. They say SIG should be granted relief from the prohibiting the current, pistols from being included. They say it violates the Constitution. It's unlawful procedure making process. It exceeded their authority. And they erroneously interpreted or applied applicable regulations. They say by prohibiting this, they did it without rulemaking findings. And they had not decided all issues requiring resolution. It's arbitrary and capricious. And they say this should be enjoined or stayed while judicial review is pending. And then they say for count 2, they want to review the agency action. They bring a lot of all this up again. Once again, constitutional issues, exceeding authority. They go through all of that. And they say the second claim for relief, they want a declaratory judgment, just like everybody says. And the court can look at it and decide what they want to do here. So what do they want for relief? They want setting aside the action. They want an entry of an order that reverses the action and allows the current P320s to be used. And they say in the alternative, they want an enjoinment and staying of it. They want an injunction. They want an injunction against the executive director for making statements about the P320 outside the scope of her duties and authority. They want any other remedies that may be necessary or required. And they also want the ability to amend this petition as may be appropriate and necessary or required. They want an award of cost and any other further relief the court could deem appropriate. You're like, okay. Interesting. That is what they're looking for here. Now, what has happened? Well, what has happened, Chad, is this was an injunction. That was one of the issues, an immediate injunction. So there was a court hearing on this. There was actually a court hearing, you guys, and it ended up being in court over the past couple of days. And here's $1,000. This is from the big affiliate out in Seattle following this. But they're talking this. There's going to be a little voiceovers here, but you're going to hear some arguments that were made. And one of the parties defending the commission is the Attorney General's office of Washington. So you're going to hear some arguments and things made, chat, and you'll hear what happened to the case so far. So here we go. We don't have the full hearing. I wish I did. And if you guys could find the full hearing, let me know. It was in Thurston County District Court. I know they have a YouTube page, but I don't think anybody fully recorded it and published it anywhere. But if you find it anywhere, I would love to listen to it. We can do that one day. I'll get a hold of Runkle and Fudbusters and we'll do it.
A motion for stay of agency action.
Sig Sauer filed suit in Thurston County, saying the Academy's ban hurts its business and reputation across the country. In this hearing, they asked a judge to order a stay, reversing the Training Commission ban.
Okay. Its product, its ability to supply.
Sorry, chat, we couldn't have that on screen. So, but notice this is the attorney for Sig Sauer, and he's now making his argument. So here we go.
Law enforcement, the impacts it has on law enforcement. They can't train, they can't certify.
Sig Sauer's petition goes so far as to request an order barring the Academy's executive director from making disparaging public comments about the P320. Sig Sauer says the gun won't shoot without a trigger pull and blames operator error.
They're not likely to prevail because they cannot show that they have standing.
The state attorney general's office defended the ban and said Sig Sauer's business and reputation problems can't be pinned on the training academy alone.
There's a great deal of information out there regarding this firearm because of the numerous documented incidences of uncommanded discharges that this firearm has experienced.
In a ruling from the bench, Judge Carol Murphy said the gunmaker's petition to reverse the ban missed the target, at least for today.
The court is...
Har, 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 har. Everybody's got to make a joke, chat. But the initial emergency injunction was denied.
Denying the motion for...
And remember, when you file an injunction, what are some of the actions and things you have to prove for an injunction? The biggest one is you have a likelihood of winning on the merits. There's a likelihood of prevailing. And they lost. It's not clear they're going to win. It's not clear they're going to win.
Stay.
The judge was careful to point out that her decision is based on very limited information, not all the merits in the case, and the case is proceeding. But for now, the State Training Commission's ban of the P320 at its facilities remains in effect.
And there you go. That is as of yesterday. So hot off the presses, chat, certified hood single. That is where we are. Yeah. So let's catch up to some of these other comments that were out here. Walker, Texas Ranger says, departments in my area switch back to Glock. Yeah, it's happening. There are, like I said, FBI, DHS, like two of the biggest ones. They're no longer allowed. Multiple agencies are like, we're not doing this no more. Fair Frozen 55 for $5 says, the safety-enabled M18 version of the P320 was the one that killed the Army, was the one that killed the airman. It was an Air Force guy, not an Army man. P320s don't care about safety. They decide when they kill. Yes, thank you. Fred Rush for $40, chat. That's right, $40. You know, $40 and a mule if each dollar was an acre. Thank you, Fred. Says, happy birthday. Once again, chat, my birthday's not till the 10th, but we're getting close. IDPA just banned all P320s from all events. Yes, LOL. Yes, and if you guys don't know what they are, just Google IDPA shooting event. It's the International Defensive Pistol Association. And it's about a more practical shooting thing. It's not a 3-gun competition where you see guys running around between all the different things and they've got the guns that are all tuned up and they're shooting like the obnoxious shotguns and they've got the AR-15s with all the different sights on them. No, it's you're using your pistol, engaging like now you're drawing from underneath your vest, so it looks kind of gay. But it's more about the practical use of a handgun than USPSA, which is the other major shooting discipline out there, which is known as 3-gun. If you want to Google it, yes, like I guarantee you there's going to be all ranges. Like I guarantee you that I haven't checked, but I'm actually, I should ask the range near me if I'm betting they say no P320s. It's a massive liability issue now. As an attorney, I would tell you not to allow them. You can't risk that. There's enough notice now that either all the people who use these are retarded or the guns are dangerous, and you can't risk either of those. But Fred, thank you for that super chat. I appreciate it. Stabby, who's been a member for 26 months, thank you for that support. 26 months, man. Thank you. It's been a long time. Says carry hollows over the balls and never get snagged. Yes. Yes, that's one way of looking at it. One way of looking at it. Lost in Space says gun-free zones violate the Constitution, but courts seem to let them stand. Yes, well, that's a separate matter. Like I said, this is not a Second Amendment issue in that vein. But that's true. And in Washington State, they uphold all their gun bans and gun laws. Lost in Space also says it's only one dead guy. Get over it. Well, that's true. Jefferson Post says, my Model 10 keeps rotating and won't rack. Oh, buddy. Be careful. Be careful. Be careful. Jasper the Cat Dude, who's been a member for 5 months, says Washington is a beautiful state with terrible people in it. Yes. The eastern part of Washington, the western Washington, like I've heard it. Washington was beautiful till the commies got in power. Yeah. Sad to see. Sad to see. Same thing for Oregon. Same thing for California. California is a beautiful state. I think it'd be awesome. It's full fucking communist. Nobody is saying if there was a murder case where the defendant was convicted and had a P320 involved and an unwavering claim of innocence, would this make a good grounds for appeal? It would be a very good grounds for appeal. It'd be also good grounds for a motion for a new trial. I mean, really be not even the appeal at this point, unless he's still in his direct appeal. But even then, you're generally just motion for a new trial. This would be a good motion for a new trial. No Mayo saying Sean showed up 10 hours in with a powder nose and locked the dogs in the bathroom hungry. Yeah, that's not what happened. Karams, yes. Tap rack boom, yes. I own you now, or I own you, is saying if you point a P320 at somebody robbing you and it goes off on its own, would you be responsible? Well, if somebody's robbing you, that's an inherently violent felony, and you would be allowed to use deadly force. So if I'm pointing the gun at you and I intended, there'd be an issue there, but I think that they'd have to kind of chalk that one up as like, well, I don't think you'd be liable at that point criminally. Bilson says, what about the Keltec? Their new stripper clip 5.7 wouldn't work that way. Okay, yes. Like, once again, that is like one of the few guns, but how many people are ever going to find that laying around somewhere? That's a range toy more than anything. I own you says, I have words for the ATF. I just can't say them on YouTube. Me too. Me too. I own you says, Sig in the bag. Thanks for the dog advice. He's happy. Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you. The BKS says, could an officer sue their own department if they get hurt from one of these things going off? Yes, if the officer mandated, like, for example, if your department says you have an issue, here, we give you this gun, you have to carry it, nothing else. Yes, he could sue them. They don't get to claim immunity or anything like that. They're responsible for things. They can be held responsible, especially if they know all this shit's going on. And especially if they're in Washington State. Yeah, it's going to be really bad. Ivan Prince Guns had a good video on why the Washington guys' videos, or the Wyoming guys' videos kind of dumb. I mean, yeah, it's kind of dumb, but still, there's a like. The problem is Sig has done such a shitty job at handling it, saying there's nothing wrong with it. It's allowed people to have to like make up tests. So like this is all Sig's fault on the way it's all being handled. I have not seen it yet, but guys, yeah, Ivan the spinning rat, you know, him part of the team with Fudbusters, very, very knowledgeable gun plumber and designer. Listen to him. He speaks, there is much wisdom. There's much iron in his words. Robin Hood says there's no more SIGs allowed at the bring your gun to work day. Yeah, not too many offices have that anymore. The post office, they definitely don't have a bring your gun to work day. And yes, Bob Johnson is correct. Ron Cohen, the CEO of Sig Sauer, has a suspended sentence of 18 months in Germany for illegally shipping 38,000 guns to Colombia. Yes. The many legal troubles of Sig Sauer. Yes. This is a Streisand effect. 100% it is at this point. And then Zeku's is saying, wait, hold up. Are you telling me court hearings happen in a courtroom? Yes, with actual practicing attorneys. I know, chat. I'm surprised too. EDW Raptor for 5 subs. Getting us another. Hold on a second, chat. And I want to say just again, Nick Kreuzer, you gave some subs last night while I was apparently hit with the knockout gas from the ninjas when they attacked me. So just want to say thank you again for those 10 subs. We'll get throwing another Clyde for a good measure. Another woo. Slow-Mo Savage has been a member for 13 months. Thank you for support. Says, was this a gun Alec Baldwin was using? LOL. Just kidding. No, but I'm sure Alec Baldwin's like, fuck. I should have been doing a modern day crime thriller, and I probably could have gotten away with it even easier. So, iGoop still from last night. No. The issue with SIG has nothing to do with the trigger weight. No, I understand it's not a trigger weight issue, but there's a lot of problems. Every day's bring your gun to work today if you're not a bitch. Okay. I have metal detectors where I go I can't bring guns to work. If I'm here at home though, technically it's bring your gun to work day. Sean, basically the same thing that happened with the P320 Cannon does happen with the Glock. I mean, yeah, but you have to have the dingus and everything depressed. Like, there's a lot more you have to do with a SIG. I mean, with the Glock. Like, yeah, theoretically, but at that point, I've got the dingus depressed and all of that. Otherwise, Glock won't do it. Glock has a far superior design. So, we could send them to Ukraine. Yeah. Panzer Dude says the Washington guys, they're talking about the Wyoming gun project. The guy who was sitting there squeezing the frame of the SIG when it went off, and he has this like the big soy face. That's what they're talking about. Not to defend SIG. Yeah. So. It has to do with the trigger travel and the MIM parts. Yes, it does. A lot of things happen there. The trigger dongle doesn't matter. You have to have it depressed to get the trigger to engage. So, sear engagement sucks. Yeah, a lot of things suck. A lot of things suck. Oh, as shown by Ivan. I did not see his video, but I'll take a look at it. Maybe if the Rat Man says you don't need it, then I'll take his word for it. Triggers pulled back past the dongle safety. Well, I'll take a look. Let's see here. It's like your mom. Yes. I feel vindicated after my past arguments for Glocks over 320s. Well, I think a lot of people do now. So, Look at the design on the Canic and the Sig. Yes, I know the Sig has a swapper operating system, but it's all too loose after a few rounds out of the box. I've heard that, yes. Jefferson Post says, I guess Sig will work with Israeli carry. I mean, yeah, but the problem is if you're standing there and it's aimed, you still have to worry about it going off. So Israeli carry only gets half of it done. Oh, realistically, what are Sig's options? I think Sig is like, nobody trusts them right now. I mean, like, there's no way I can't see there's no mechanical or design defect in this gun. There has to be one. I mean, or they designed a gun so shittily and it's so tamponically sensitive that just fucking breathing on it sets it off. Or, oh, if you don't have the right kind of fucking like dildo lined holster, it goes off. That's still bad. That is still really bad for them. So I don't know what their options are. They're going to have to try to ride this out and say, fuck you, you're wrong. Fuck you, you're wrong. Fuck you, you're wrong. You're the idiots. And hope they can weather the storm. So I don't know. I don't know at that point. What are and the biggest problem, yes, is that most of the components for the SIGs are basically Chinesium quality metal made in India. And MIM chat, what does MIM mean? It's basically you take metal in a powder form and you basically metal injection molding. It's like the most ghetto way to do stuff. You can do it on some parts, but SIG probably made critical parts MIM that shouldn't have been MIM. It's all pot metal. And SIG has to fix it. They can't afford to do it. If they do it, they're admitting it. And then they got to fix all the pistols they've sold. And then nobody's going to trust them ever again. Like, I wouldn't fucking buy a SIG. And it's probably going to fuck up what they got going on with the Army for the rifle. I guarantee you they fucking bribed people in the fucking military trials. Because the military trials don't make any sense either as far as what happened. Like, there's all kinds of bullshit. So SIG is fucked. I don't think they, like I said, 2-3 years from now, I don't know if they're still functioning as a company. So, Intercity Pigeon says, wait, they aren't milled. The slide is milled, but the internal parts, the internal metal parts on the slide, like all the fire control parts, like all that stuff is MIM. The slide itself, yes, is milled. So, yeah, fixing them will probably cost them as much as the profit they got in the first place. SIG did not make it. SIG sold the Army the pistols for cost, like $200 a unit. SIG was going to make money on the back end with equipment and magazine sales to the military. SIG also then was going to make money by doing police and civilian sales, because if the military adopts a weapon, everybody views that as a good enough standard. The Army can test better than any police department or civilian can. So that's why people like the AR-15. It's been tested. It's tried and true. It's been around for like 70 years now. It's good to go. So that's why it's safe. You know, like the SIG, the XM7, the Army is kind of testing it and kind of partially adopted in a small number. It's full of fucking problems. So that's the issue here. That's the issue. So they really made their money off of everybody else buying it. So they'll make a fire sale in the MCX. Yeah, maybe. Make it up on tourniquet sales. Well, that too. Yeah. So let's see here. Magazine sales are huge. They get destroyed constantly. Well, yes, a magazine on a a box magazine that's removable on any firearm is a consumable item. You know, for all of us to shoot them, though, we don't use them and abuse them like they do in the military. But you should treat like a magazine for an AR-15 like they treat tires on a race car. You're going to burn them up by the end of the race. It's going to be worn out at some point. It's a disposable item. It's consumed. By the time you're going to use it enough, it gets worn out or damaged. and you're done with it. You throw it away. Like in combat, you could drop it and grab a new one. So yes, magazines are a consumable item. That's why you buy like 40, 50, 60 magazines for an AR-15, because you never know how many you'll go through. So it's a wear part, yes. Yes, changing mags, reloading. Let's see here. What else we got? I bet the guys at T-Rex Arms are happy that Sig has taken the spotlight here. So, yes, very true. Consumed like a sandwich, yes. And speaking of sandwiches, chat, if you guys go to potentiallycriminal.com, yes, you go to potentiallycriminal.com, chat, you could come down here and you guys could see all the fun stuff that Maddie B put together. It is a hilarious website that he did. And turn down your sound real quick, chat, because it's going to get really loud. But if you go to potentiallycriminal.com/sandwich, you guys can join and help Chef Clyde. And I mean, look at him. That is not a real picture, chat. That is AI, but that is beautiful AI that's done. But anyways, you can talk about me. There's Clyde, the mods, who are totally useless, 2.0. And you guys, like I said, I'm not fat enough for that AI picture. So anyways, if you guys want to help, guys, this is going to get really loud. I'll turn it down, though, in a second here. This is the Chef Clyde sandwich stack. And if you want to hear the music to this, it's that. So if it's loud, turn it down for you, because we're going to turn it on for a second. We're going to play a real quick game. This chat, this is better than DSP, because I'm going to be involved. Here we go, chat. We got this. I can talk while I'm gaming. I'm a serious gamer. Here we go. Look at this, chat. Look at this beautiful gaming footage. Look at this footage, chat. Look at that. Look at that. We're going to the next level, chat. We're breezing through this playthrough. Look at that. We're just ready to go. Ready to go. Here we go. Look at that kill up in the corner. That's the Clyde right there. Clyde loves the bulldozer. Anyways, we're getting it, chat. Here we go. Look at this work. Guys, remember, Maddie B put this together. Tell him thank you. Show him thank. We're at level 3 already, chat. We're making it, chat. We're going all the way. Oh, no, all the way up. We can't make it over there in time. Chat, look at this. We're already on level 4. We are dominating. A little too far away. Nothing I can do, chat. Nothing I can do. They're hiding in the lag in the neck mode. Nothing I can do. No! Nothing I can do. It's too far away. There we go. Anyways, you got to go to the URL here. You click the URL, and it takes you to the farms once again. You can learn all about me. Yes, Maddie made the whole site. But yeah, there's nothing I could do on that. Some of that stuff was falling too fast. Nothing I could do. Nothing I could do. Oh. So there we go, guys. There we go. And you guys could do it down there at potentiallycriminal.com/sandwich. And then TT Cook is saying, no, a Glock will not do with what a P320 is. Stop being a Sigger. The 320 has a weaker striker safety seer engagement, and it's fully precock striker. It's junk. I get that, but it sounds like Ivan was just pointing out the way the guy did his testing was not accurate, or was would be consistent between the Sig and the Glock. So I think that's what Ivan was getting at. I have not seen the video though, so I will defer on that one. But it sounds like that's what Ivan did, and I trust the Rat Man. He's smart. And then EDW Raptor for $5 says, shout out to Maddie. Yes. Thank you again, Maddie B. I appreciate it. But yes, he made the whole site. Thank you again. Thank you again. And real quick, while we're here, we need to go back because I need to. There's also real quick there because somebody I do need to show. I know a bunch of you guys were on here too. Yes, my birthday in 7 days. But there's also from here. Some of you guys have left your birthday notes here. So like Chinny says, happiest birthdays. Blogger Sean, if you build it, they will come. Amateur Iconoclast says, happy birthday. Survive this year, Sean, and you will have lived longer than the East German Republic. Yes. Yes. And it's funny. There is a video that's out there. If you come on YouTube, if you want to see something truly funny, the DDR, the Deutsches, the Deutsche Democratic Republic. They have their military parade just like the Soviets did. And they had a parade in 1989. And it's funny because they do it, and it's the 1989 East German military parade. And it's done on May Day. So, and remember, by November, it was over. The wall had been breached. But you can go to, you can do it here. This is so funny. This is a guy who's got it recorded is Maximus in History. He's got it aired. And you come over here and you just start watching it. And you can see, like, this is the East German military May Day parade. And it's pretty cool because you're like, these guys were fucked and they didn't even know it. It was already collapsing. And if you guys have never seen, like, you can see the East German military come marching through. You know, they have all the East German soldiers marching. They have all the East German equipment coming through. They got the BRDMs with the spandrels on it, the anti-tank missile systems. They got their version of the Grad rocket launchers. They've got BMPs. They got BMP2s, chat. They got the fancy ones with the autocannon. Oh, no, wait, no, those are BMP1s. I think those are those are BMP1s. They don't have 2s. Wow. The NVA, not the North Vietnamese army. The NVA was the German army, the East German army. They didn't get BMP2s? What the fuck? I'm disappointed. Yeah, that's a BMP1. The East Germans didn't rate BMP2s? That's a shame. That's a goddamn shame, chat. But they do have T-72s that come through. And just look at all the smoke from all the engines in the area. It's just like everybody's sitting there just like coughing up a lung. But anyways, yeah, there you go. Yes, I will, if I make it to next year, I will survive longer than the East German Republic. So the tankism inbound. Yes, that audio is scuffed. Well, if you turn it up all the way, it's not bad. Urbras says, you think the Soviets let them have the good stuff? They actually did. They were the best. The Russians by the 50s were like, these guys will be good. They were aside from the Russian army, they were the best trained and best equipped and best led out of all the Warsaw Pact. East German AK-74s and even AK-47s were the best manufactured. Sadly, when reunification happened, they built machines and destroyed all the guns. So you can't really find them anywhere. Those are like moon rocks. So Renee Collins says, thank you for the membership. Yeah. Literally held by strings. Yes. Yes. Yara equals years. Yes. The DDR made women men again first. Yes, they did. Barbara Vance says, too bad they sided with the commies. Well, when you live where the Russians take over, you don't really get a choice because they'll kill you if you don't go along with them. So I couldn't, yeah, it's kind of what it is. Kind of what it is. Roscoe says, I have to pick you up a birthday card tomorrow, and then I'm going to mail you a super chat and Filipino money. Well, I appreciate that. If you've just sending me a card, I appreciate that in general. Just saying happy birthday here in chat, guys. I appreciate that. So whatever you guys do, and if you don't do anything, I appreciate that too. Remember, I'm here. Like, if I'm not here, you guys go somewhere else. This is a very symbiotic thing. Very symbiotic thing. So, yeah, Maddie should make websites for money. I think so. I thought it was very well done. Sean is not new to the farms. He knows what is in his thread. I know. And unlike, I read my thread because sometimes there's good advice in there. There's constructive criticism. Sometimes they're just like, you're a fucking idiot. I'm like, well, okay, I get that. I can't fix that. But there's times where there has been criticism. I've tried to work with it. But you can read the farm thread as long as you're not a fucking lunatic. So that's always a big thing there. Let's see here. Yeah, the military loss of David Hasselhoff. Yes. Think about this, chat. By the end of the Cold War, by the 80s, we were spending the American consumers spent more on entertainment than the Russians could spend on defense. Think about that. How are they ever going to win? We spent more on personal leisure activities, music and movies than they could on the military. Yeah, the DDR had good stuff because they were front line. Yes, but the Germans were also serious. They had a very good military heritage. You might reach out to Colonial Noir and talk to him about this. Oh, I didn't see what does he say about the P320? I'm curious. I know he's an attorney, or he used to be. I know he's licensed, and I think he went full-time into content, so I don't know what he does now. Sean's favorite fact, railroad equipment was given to the DDR by the Soviets, which means they got shit and we're still using Prussian steamers at reunification. Yes. EDW says, I beg to differ. Bulgaria, the best produced AKs. You ask the people who do it, no. The East German stuff was like, mwah. And then a very close second or third in that would be the Chinese, like a Type 56. I've handled those. I've handled, Mac 90s and shit, dude. Those things are bomb-proof. Those things are amazing. Oh, Maddie says, check out tonight. There'll be upgrades. Ooh. There we go. Say, if you want a website, Matty B will make you one. Get in touch with him, guys. He did a good job. Nick used to read his thread. Look where it got him. Yeah, well, like I said, you got to be able to understand what you're doing. Territory says my 1970s Land Rover ambulance is part of the British Army's forces in West Germany. Yep. Yeah, they had a military. They still have a military base. They still have a military presence in West Germany, or in Germany still. The Americans showed up by literally feeding a nation with planes just for the hell of it. Are you talking about in the Netherlands? We didn't do that because for the hell of it, we had to do it because they were going to starve. But yes, at the end of World War II, the U.S. Air Force started doing food runs into Holland because they were going to starve because there was a famine. Yes. Elegant News says most of the time temporary rulemaking does not allow judicial review. You're right. Temporarily, the temporary ban didn't. But now it's a permanent ban. And that becomes an issue of, does that require rulemaking? Yes, the East Germans were very big in Africa, advising in Angola and other places. And if you guys like the show Deutschland 83, they have one of the seasons there in East Germany or Africa. It's really cool. It's very cool. It's also a very good show. And the way it ends is pretty good too. So, sadly, we ruined Germany. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think he means the Berlin airlift. We didn't do that for the hell of it. We did that because we couldn't afford to lose Berlin. That wasn't done for the lulz. The Russians literally cut off all road and rail access. The Berlin airlift was not for the lulz of it. That was a show of force and a show of will that we could do that. Yeah, Germany ruined itself. Yes. You don't need to worry about Sean until he gets a Sonichu medallion. If that ever happens, I'm taking it to the Diocese of Cleveland's exorcist. They have one. A lot of the major dioceses still have exorcists. I'm taking it to him. I'm gonna like throw it at his fucking door and be like, you deal with this. So there you go. Let's see. And Barbara's saying in Dresden. Well, what about Dresden? I mean, shit happens, man. You play, strap on the cleats, man. Shit happens. So it's total fucking war. Right, wrong, or different, man. I mean, if you think Dresden's bad, we incinerated on most of fucking Japan. You know, you strap on your cleats, man. That's what happens. What is blocking the Glock behind you? Oh, there's not blocking it. It's a hat. Hold on, let me check. I think. Hold on. Yeah, it's not anything blocking it. It is my It is the Make America Green Again chat. Yes, when you do memberships, chat, when you do some subs, we are making America and making chat green again, chat. Yes. So. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. EDW Raptor with 5 subs. Yes. Making America green again, chat. Praying the gray away. And you know what? Yeah. And guys, remember, when you get some subs, here's what you're doing literally. You just can't see it, but this is what you're doing. This is a representation of it. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing, chat. Fred Rush with 5 more subs. I still wish we could get him to a woo better, but we can't. And then yesterday, he was sitting on the floor. I forget what happened. And Clyde just goes, woo. And then we're like, oh, you just said woo. And he goes, woo. And then he was like, oh, he did it twice. And he goes, woo. He did it like 3 times in a row. I'm just like, but you little fucker doesn't do it when we're ready for it. So, and speaking of that, I don't know if he's here. Hey, Clyde. Oh. Hi, Louie. Come here. Louie, gonna pop your head up? Hey, Louie, come here. Hi, puppy. There's Louie's here, chat. Yeah, you can see him. There he is. Hi, Louie. You're such a good boy. Yeah, we're dog sitting. Clyde. Come here, Clyde. The Clyde comes running and he's like, help me, fat man. The big dog's here. Come on, buddy. Ah, there you go, chat. You get your Clyde tonight. You got your Clyde tonight. So as far as we're concerned, I mean, I think that's it for Sig. I don't know what they're going to be able to do. Like, at some point, they're going to get hammered. And I just don't know what's going to happen. Anyways, Clyde, we're going to wrap up here. So I need both hands to land the plane. I'm sorry, Bubba. Okay? Okay? He's such a good boy. Oh, he still smells so good from the groomer coming by. Still smells so good. Oh. Joe Smo says, new lo-fi recommendation, Bossa Nova. It's like having Cinema Paradiso or Aria, the animation soundtracks on a loop in the background. Okay, interesting. Thank you, Joe. Yes, Clyde, yes. Clyde back to gun running in Africa. Well, hey, man, somebody's got to do it. Someone's got to do it. You need a box for Louis to stand on. I don't know if he would be able to do it. Yeah, is their future being like a watch company? I think so. I don't know. Their future's being a butt of jokes. And then SB Sellers for 10 more subs. Big fucking support tonight, you guys. Thank you. Thank you out there. Thank you so much. Thank you. We demand more Clyde and Louis. Well, like I said, guys, Louis's a little... I don't know if I can get him to pop up here. Hey, Louis, come here. Let's see if he'll jump up on me. I don't know if this will be bad. Come here, Louis. Can you do that? Here. All right, Louis. Hold on. Here you go, Louis. Come here. There you go. There's Louis. That's all. Come here, Louis. Come here. Try again. Come on. Come here. Come here, Louis. Come here, Louis. That's all I got. That's all I got for you, chat. That's all you get. Check the live stream chat. The St. Louis lawyers got their guns back. Yes, the McCluskeys. They got their firearms back. The boomer got his A2 AR-15 back, which is hilarious. If you guys remember, they were the ones out in St. Louis. They stood there on their front yard when the BLM marchers were coming through, and they had the rifle. He had the rifle, and she had the pistol out. It was pretty dope. Pretty dope out there. So, but yeah, well, I was going to save that for next week. Remember, chat, we need stories for the show. We need stories for Thursday night. Because if we don't, well, then, it's a little rough. Yeah, Sig is also screwed. They don't have a side business of selling horse semen like Glock does. I'm sure Ron is sitting there Ron Cohen's like, why can't I sell horse spunk too? I'm sure he's upset about that. It's rough. It's rough out there, chat. Let's see here. No. What how many of these things do I got? No. And then last one, no. No. Although I gotta open up my show topics real quick, chat. Hold on, chat. 1 second. When I get the topics and they pop in my head or come to me, I need to make sure I mark them down for Thursday so we have stuff. And actually, chat, I got to pay the water bill. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. All right, chat, we're back. Sorry about that. So, as far as a model stream tonight, I think one of you guys asked, lost Will, where are you at here? Hold on, chat. I was looking for him. Anyways, Will, I saw you're here. So, anyways, Will, once again, thank you again for that wonderful gift I can't show on here, but I've been having a lot of fun with it. So, on the suitcase murders, yes. Mike Crawford says Mike Crawford from Young Jerks is stopped from streaming a trial on Thursday. Okay, really? Okay, well, I'll talk to Mike about that from the Young Jerks. We'll see what happened. I'll reach out to him. The suitcase murders. Hold on here. All right, and then let me see here. What did I think I missed something? Yeah, is there a model stream tonight? No. I need to get some good sleep. I need a good night's sleep. Sleeping in a chair is not good for my back. Hurt a lot. So, no, I'm going to sleep in a bed. We're going to get normal sleep today. We got Formula One tomorrow. So if you guys follow us over on Locals, 9 a.m. at the Hungaro Ring in Hungary, we've got the Formula One, the Hungarian Grand Prix. We're going to be doing that. It's over at potentiallycriminal.locals.com. It'll be 9 a.m. Eastern time. Guys, that's a free thing. You don't have to join. You have to pay to see that, but we will hang out tomorrow. Will, there you go. Yes, you're very welcome. Thank you. That was so cool. Like I said, I don't know if you heard me, but like I was telling 2.0 after we got that, I was terrified. Like somebody had sent me like a real fucking gun, and I'm like, oh my God, they broke the fucking law. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, when I open it up, I'm like, oh, I'm like, it's not real. I'm like, thank God. I was so worried something had happened. Yeah, so Ohio requires self-doxing to watch porn now, which I think is wrong, yes. Donna Adelson, yeah, that's something we'll be getting into here because I know that's coming up. Things are making their way through that trial. Sleep while streaming again, yeah. Well, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. So, it's a nice BB gun. It is. It is. It's very cool. It's very cool. So cool. And Shittermutt just became a member. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you for the support. Thank you for becoming green and doing your part to get rid of the grays. So, all right, chat. With that said, we are going to wrap this up. Like I said, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. I will see you guys over there. And yeah, we're going to get started. Watch the Hungarian Grand Prix. We'll probably go live tomorrow night. I'm not sure what we're going to do yet. It might be a members only. I was thinking about that, doing a members only for everybody, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I'll reach out to Whiskey 77 and 3 Beers and make sure that if they're going live tomorrow night, I'll make sure I do it before their show. So, Tech Guy says, how about going to church tomorrow instead of watching Europeans drive around, chat? Well, you can do both. You can do both. You can do both. What time's the Grand Prix? 9 a.m. Eastern time. 9 a.m. Eastern time. And unlike the Belgian Grand Prix last week, there's no rain tomorrow. It's a nice hot summer in Hungary, so they will start on time. Yes, on a wall, correct. 9 a.m. Eastern. So, chat, with that said, you guys take care. I will see you guys all tomorrow. And remember, until next time. What? You say something? Oh. I thought you was trying to get my attention for a second. Just because you did it does not mean you're guilty. Except Sig, you guys are guilty as fuck. You've made a death trap. A hand-portable death trap. So. So with that said, real quick, EDW Raptor for $2 says 168 hours and 30 minutes until my birthday. Yes. Tomorrow is the 3rd and the 10th is a Sunday as well, which I don't like it when the birthday's on the Sunday or a Monday. That always sucks. But, eventually a couple years we'll be back to like on a Thursday, Friday, and you're like, that's the base. It's base there. Anna Wilson, did you open a gift? Yes. From 2.0, opened a gift. Got these nice little accessory trailers that'll go along with the howitzer we're working on. So that'll be a lot of fun to do, chat. So with that said, guys, take care, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow. Good night, chat. Good night.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws, tips on hunting, and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops, even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty, but please talk to a local attorney. Was that the fat guy?